Assalamu alaikum, welcome back everyone. It's Mr. Kamal Tahi speaking. You are welcome in the physics sessions for grade 9. We'll still talk about the vector operations, and today we'll take another kind of the problems, maybe more complicated than the others. Okay, today we'll take this problem about how can we find the vectors or the resultant for the vectors they are not perpendicular with each other, like this example here. Okay, as you see here in this vector, suppose that is a vector 1 and that is a vector 2. Suppose that is d1, okay, and that is d2. Okay, and we want to find the resultant for each of them, this d. Okay, now we want to find the resultant. How can we find the resultant for these two vectors? What we will do, what is the strategy we'll use to find the d here? Okay, now we will find the components for each vector, and after that add each one with each other like that. Okay, now here we will take the components for this. Where are the components for this? It will be like that and like that. Okay, suppose that's x1 and that is y1. Okay, and also we will find the components for this. It will be like that and like that. The direction is very important, guys. To find the components in these directions, it should to be like that. Okay, because it will be very important when we add when we find to add all of the components and add them with each other. Okay, now here this is x2 and suppose that it's y2. Okay, now at the end we can find that, we can realize that here it will be like that and like that. That is all of them for this resultant. Okay, now we will add all of them with each other. Y equals y1 plus y2 and x equals x1 plus x2, and use the Pythagorean theorem to find a d. To find d equals x squared plus y squared, and find d by this way. And also we can find the direction by the same way, inverse tan, okay, y divided by x, and to find the this direction. Okay, now let's take an example to understand more about that. Okay, in this problem, as you see here, a simple problem for adding vectors that are not perpendicular with each other. We have here hacker walks 27 kilometers from the base camp at 35 southeast. Okay, to draw the problem is the most important thing for all the vector browsing. That is the normal axis we have here, x and y, as you know, and of course this south and this east. Okay, now he said that 35 southeast, it means the 35 it will be here, near of east. Near of east. When he said that southeast, it means south here and east. It means the 35 it will be near of the southeast. Okay, and after that the next day she walks 41 in the direction of 65 northeast. Now that is a normal also, that is a normal axis. Okay, where is the southeast? It will be like that. Okay, and where the 65? The 65 will be here like that. Okay, guys, yeah, can you understand that now? Now to draw the problem, it's the most important thing for all. Okay, now 65, 65 degrees here like that. Okay, 65 degrees. Okay, now that is the direction for the northeast. Okay, now what you want, of course you want the resultant and the direction. Okay, the direction will be here. That is the direction and that is the resultant. Okay, let's go for the board to understand how can we solve this problem. To understand this problem, we should draw it. We'll draw it again like that. Okay, now this is the angle 35 for this one, and let's take some names for each part. Okay, now let's name this one here. It's d1. Okay, now this is d1 equals 27 kilometers, and the direction for this one is a 35. Okay, and we want to find the components for this vector. Now, how are the components for this vector? It will be like that. Okay, and also like that. That is the components for this one. Okay, now let's name also for each one. Let's name this one x1, and here that is y1. Okay, and what about this? Here he tell you that when the 65 degrees, she walks for 41 kilometer. Now that is d2. d2 equals 41 kilometer. Okay, where the components will be like that. The direction for components, guys, very important. Okay, let's change the color. Okay, let's make it orange. Okay, now these components will be that this one is x2, and here that is y2. Okay, now that is the components for this for this vector. Okay, now we will find we will find all of the components for each one and add all of them at the end. Okay, now let's start for this one at first. Make it by blue. Okay, now let's start with this one at first. Okay, now here this cosine, and as I told you before, that's opposite, and the x1 here is the adjacent. Now cosine, okay, 35 equals x1 divided by 27, the hypotenuse 27. Okay, by this way, x1 equals now cosine 35 times 27 equals 22.1 kilometer. That is x1. Okay, what about y1? By the same way, but we will use sine, because sine it equals sine theta equals opposite divided by hypotenuse. Okay, now sine theta equals y1 opposite divided by hypotenuse. Now y1 equals sine 35 times 27 equals 15.5 kilometer. Okay, as I told you guys, be careful with the direction. As you see here, y1, the opposite direction of y2. Because that when we add y1 and y2, they are the opposite direction, we will make it negative. This one will be negative. It means we will subtract, not add. Okay, because they are in different direction. Okay, now let's take another triangle here. Okay, by the same way, we will use also cosine and sine. Now sine here, or let's start with cosine. Now cosine, that is adjacent and that is hypotenuse. Okay, now cosine 65 equals x2 divided by 41. Okay, by the same way, x2 equals cosine 65 times 41. Okay, be careful, of course, not 65, not times 41. No, cosine 65 multiply 41. Okay, yeah, I think you can understand that. Okay, now here also it equals 17.3. Okay, 17.3 kilometer. That is x2. Okay, now sine 65 y2 divided by 41. Okay, now y2 equals sine 65 times 41 equals at the end 37, this one 37.1 kilometer. As you see here, we found the components for each vector. We found the components for each vector. Now what we will make now? We will find x and x when we add x1 with x2, and we will find y when we add y1 and y2. Let's complete to find x. Okay, x equals x1 plus x2, x1 22.1, and this 17.3 equals 39.4 kilometer. That is x. What about y? y1 plus y2, but be careful with the direction. Here y1, the opposite direction of y2. We can say that 37 37.1 subtract or negative 15.5. 15.5. Okay, it equals 21.6. 21.6. Okay, kilometer. Okay, be careful. Now we subtract. Why? Because we have opposite direction for this and this. Okay, guys. Now, by very easy way, we use the Pythagorean theorem. D, that is a resultant. Okay. Now D equals x squared y squared 39.4 squared plus 21.6 squared equals 44.9 kilometer, approximately 45 kilometer. That is a resultant. Okay, that is a resultant. Okay, now what about direction? Be careful also for the direction for this triangle here. Can you see that? That is the triangle, and that is the direction. That's very important to understand where is the opposite and where is the adjacent. Okay, now here y, it will be the opposite, and the adjacent here x. Okay, now let's make theta. Theta equals tan negative 1 opposite divided by adjacent. Now here opposite is y. It means 21.6 divided by 39.4. Okay, it equals 28.7 degrees north of east. Be understand for this point, guys. Okay, north of east, when the angle beside the east, you will start from north. Okay, north of east. That is the first problem. I hope you understand this one. Let's answer another one to understand more. Let's answer this problem in page 92. This problem number 1. Okay, now football player runs directly down the field. Okay, now he walks down the field or run down the field. Okay, suppose that this is the down the field. Okay, now for 35 meters. Okay, and turning to the right at the angle of 25 from his original direction. Okay, now it means like that, guys. You should understand how can you draw it. Okay, now 25 from his original direction, that's the original direction. Okay, and that is 25 degrees, like that. Okay, now and for 15 meters also, before getting tracked, what is the magnitude and direction for the runners? Okay, now of course the magnitude and direction, it will be like that, guys. Okay, now that is a magnitude. Okay, and that is a direction, it will be here like that. Okay, now let's use the same way to answer this question. As I told you before, we will find each components for each one. Okay, of course this one no components. Now, because why? Because here we don't have an angle. We don't have an angle because that this one this one we don't have any cosine and sine. Okay, just this one we can name it y1. Okay, just y1. Y1 equals 35. Okay, now this one we will find the components for this one. The direction is very important, guys. Okay, that's the first component and that is the second components, like that. Okay, suppose that is y2 and we don't have another x because that this one will be x, not x1 or x2. This one will be x. Okay, now let's complete answer this question on the whiteboard. We will use the same way to answer the question. First is here, as I told you, now we don't have any cosine and sine for this. Okay, we will use sine and cosine for this one. Okay, be careful for the opposite and the adjacent. Okay, now that is the opposite and that is the adjacent. Now sine, let's start with the cosine. Okay, now cosine 25, cosine 25 equals adjacent y2 divided by hypotenuse 15. Okay, now y2 equals cosine 25 times 15 equals 13.4 meters. That is y2. By the same way, sine 25 equals x divided by hypotenuse 15. Now x equals sine 25 times 15, 6.3 meters. Okay, that is y2, and that is x. Now y equals y1 plus y2. Now 35 plus 13.4 equals 48.4 meters. That is y. Okay, what about x? We don't have x1 or x2. That's the x. Okay, because that we can find d, that is the this one, the magnitude. Okay, d equals square root for this one, x. Okay, 6.3 squared plus 48.4 squared equals 48.8 meters approximately. For we can say it at 49 meters. Okay, that is the magnitude. What about the direction? As I told you guys, be careful. The direction here, where is the opposite? X, it will be the opposite, and y, it will be the adjacent, because the direction will be here. Okay, now theta equals tan -1. Okay, opposite. Okay, now x, it will be the opposite. 6.3 divided by 48.4 equals 7.4. Now you should to write degrees, of course. You should to write the direction. Okay, 7.4 right of the downfield. Okay, right of the downfield. As you see here, we will use the direction he gave it to you. We don't use north and south and east and like that. Why? Because here he said that is a downfield. That we have something called coordinate system. Now the coordinate system here, that is the downfield, and we will use downfield in the direction at the end. Okay, that's another problem. I hope you understand these problems. When you answer another problem more, you can understand more. Thanks a lot for watching me, and I hope you understand. If you have any question, please ask me in the comments or in WhatsApp. Thanks a lot. See you next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.